communicated with quite a bit after we did the interview. Bobby Rydell has passed away at 79, Teen Idol, The Wild One, Volare, just a few of the songs that we all know from him. Of course, he acted with Ann-Margret, and he was just one of the nicest gentlemen that I've ever interviewed in my life. You know, when I asked him for Frankie Avalon's information, he says, "John, no worries, I'll get it for you. I'll just make sure that it's okay to pass it along." And he gave me the information right away and wished me well and asked me how I was doing with COVID and stuff. And just a real classy gentleman. Went through health scares, went through his life of drinking too much, and then getting over that, having died, almost died rather, and then getting a second chance at life, getting a second chance and realizing that he had to clean up his act a little bit. But I'm just looking at some of the interviews, and I'm going to put the entire interview up tonight. Hi, John. How you doing? How's it going? It really hit me tonight when I saw the fact that he had passed away at 79. Rydell High in Greece, indirectly, he was told that Rydell High was named after him as sort of a tip of the hat to him being one of those teenage idols. And he said it meant an awful lot to him. He remained very close friends, by the way. Let me just pick up my iPad, with Ann-Margret throughout all the years. As a matter of fact, the Beatles, there was two segments that I did with Bobby Rydell that did incredibly, incredibly well. One was talking about the Beatles. When he first met the Beatles, he was on a bus and he kept going, "Well, the Beatles, who are these people?" He couldn't get over a band that would be called after, the Beatles. But he was a drummer. He was a Philly boy. Speaking of Frankie Avalon, he toured with them quite a bit. They remained really, really good friends throughout their life. But classy guy, just incredibly easy to talk to. He said to me when we talked that he could understand Justin Bieber. He got what Justin Bieber had to go through because he he was also a teen idol, right? He told me about hard times after the heyday, of being a teen idol, but then having to live through that. He talked about loving Michael Bublé. He told me that. There's an interview I'm looking right here. Bobby Rydell wants to work with Michael Bublé. That was one of the other one we had. Bobby Rydell on the special sound of The Wild One, which was his biggest hit. What else do we have on here? There's quite a few videos. Oh, the first time he heard himself on the radio. He was very, very open about talking about the old days and loving, what he did. He says he still liked hearing the fans. I says, "Well, why don't you retire?" I asked him at one point. "Well, people must be telling you that now and then." And Bobby told me, he says, you kind of get hooked on doing this and you don't want to retire. And I can understand that. Today, I talked to Pete Agnew, the only remaining member in Nazareth. And I said, "When will you retire?" He says, "You'll hear that I'm dead when the next show is canceled because I want to do this till I can't do it anymore." Bobby Rydell was one of those guys who just, enjoyed doing what he does. I'll just read some of your comments. We'll get back to it. TDSM 19. Hey, John. Stacy writes, "This is so sad." He was one of the good ones. Oh, Joe Messina also died. He was huge at the Funk Brothers. Thank you. Beretta Music Academy. A bummer. Another legend gone. Yeah. As far as I know, he got a kidney transplant and liver transplant, but don't quote me on that. Oscar Stern, he rocked. They both rocked, yes. Yeah, it's kind of a shocker. Bobby, I looked at it. Let me see if I can find the thing that was released tonight. I just want to come on really quickly and pay my respects. It's weird when it's someone you've interviewed. If it's someone you've interviewed and, I spent 2 hours with Bobby, just the interview. And a lot of it, we were just talking just talking about people we knew. He's a friend of mine on Facebook, for God's sakes. Let me find it. Here it is. No, this is the group. The group hasn't even announced it yet. That's strange. The Bobby Rydell group. Let me find it. I'll see what they wrote. Yes, okay. I think I found it. Here it is. This is a statement released on April 5th, 2022. Bobby Rydell, legendary 1960s era singer, actor, and teen idol, died at the age of 79 at Jefferson Hospital of non COVID related pneumonia complications. Robert Rydell, known in the music industry as Bobby Rydell, was a singer and actor who rose to fame after being discovered in 1950 as a young entertainer on Paul Whiteman's TV Teen Club in 1959. His first single was a Cameo Parkway, Kissin' Time, landed on the Billboard Top 100, launched his career. Oh, by the way, he also he talked about meeting Frank Sinatra and being very, very nervous about meeting Frank Sinatra, but how Frank Sinatra was just like a really cool guy, just really chill. He said he was surprised at how he invited him over to his table, and Frank Sinatra was a fan of Bobby Rydell, and it's interesting. Bobby had told me that he lived so much more years after old Blue Eyes did. History was made for Rydell when he was 19. He became the youngest singer to perform on NYC's famous Copacabana nightclub. A legendary appearance recently portrayed Vaughn Lewis in the 91st Academy Award winning Green Book. His first film was Bye Bye Birdie with Ann-Margret, who I mentioned a while ago. He had told me that they were still really, really good friends. Rydell was known for multiple appearances on the Dick Clark American Bandstand and for becoming the high school namesake of the iconic 1978 film Grease. Like I said, I asked him, was that because the rumors is, as I told him, the rumor is that this is it's a tip of the hat to you when they called the high school in Greece Rydell High, and he says I've been told multiple times by people on the inside that it was indeed that. But he's survived by his wife Linda, son Robert, daughter Jennifer, and his 5 grandchildren. Rydell lived to be 79 years old, and through the gift of organ donation. Yeah. He talked about that. He said that he had a chance, I think he had a chance to talk to the organ donor when he was in need and realize that because of his rock and roll lifestyle, that it was a chance for him to make better choices in his life. This lights are way too high. Yeah. So it's strange when it's someone. It's strange when it's someone you've interviewed and you've spent some time with. And Bobby, like I said, when I think the last time I reached out to him was maybe maybe a month or two. God, I don't remember. But he was always right there. He'd always get back to me. Hey, John, hope you're doing well. An amazing performer. And when you talk about someone was there when the Beatles were coming up, and he didn't understand the name. He said, I don't know why they call it that. I'm going to take the pieces of the Bobby Rydell interview and put them together and put them on the Rock History Music channel tonight to try to put like a whole thing together. But it's kind of sad because, like I said, I mean, he was so nice. And it all started with me looking up the songs that were big the year I was born. And then I saw Bobby Rydell there and I went, oh. So I contacted him, and I think it was his wife got back to me and said, would you like a copy of his book? Would you like it signed? And I said, sure, I'd like, I'm not sure if I have it here someplace. It's probably in the other room. And he signed it to me. He personalized it to me, which was really, really nice. They don't always do that. But he did, and I read the book, loved reading the stories about, the singers that came out of his area. I looked up the house where I don't know if it was his grandparents or parents lived. They all lived together. And I told him how much it was worth now. I looked it up and he was surprised by that. But a guy who would go to malls and go to appearances and try everything he could to get there. And he was a good drummer. And I asked him, when's the last time you were on a kit? And he says, well, I don't get on very often anymore because that's not my thing. But what a nice man. I was just complete shock when I read that he had passed away at 79. The music critic says, bye-bye, Bobby, rest in peace. David Gina So very sad to hear about this. I grew up with the Rydell, along with Rydell, along with all the other rock and rollers. I put him under early rock and roll, early singers that that kind of paved the way for the singers that a lot of us got to love. And the song Volare, of course, was a big hit overseas first. Um, Makes me think of Hollywood Nights, yeah, the Green Bird. LeBeau, I never expected this to happen. Rest in peace, a teen legend. One of the first big ones, right? From that ilk, I would say. And he still toured, like I said, with Frankie Avalon, and he gave me Frankie's information. I never did get a hold of him. I should, after this sort of dies down a little bit, I will get a hold of him and see if I can interview Frankie Avalon, and we can, he can tell some stories about his old friend. But still had it, still loved to perform. And there's a thing about Bobby Rydell that I found that was really heartwarming, that when he did perform, you couldn't help but smile. I always say this thing, you've heard me say this, like when you walk into a room, what's the feel? When someone walks in the room, what is it that you get from them? And to him, he always had this big smile on his face. He had a hospital visit, I think maybe before COVID. I'm not sure what it was, but there he was, because he wore a piece, and he wasn't wearing it, and he had no problems because he was in a hospital just being who he was. And he had that big smile on his face. I, yeah, the world's a little less of a place because of people like Bobby Rydell, when they leave us. And I'm glad he got what he needed to get when he was living the lifestyle. It was hard for him. Um, with the drinking. It really was. He had to keep his relationship with his first wife very, very private. And he explains that in the book, where, because he was a teen idol, they didn't want to get the word out there that he had a relationship, which happens with all teen idols, right? You don't want to break the facade, the cloud, the image of the person. And he was a really, really good looking guy. The picture we use for the banner was the picture they used for the book, his book, which will probably sell even more now. It sold quite well. It was really well written. He talks about the sports that he liked, how they were a rough and tumble crowd in Philly, along with Frankie Avalon, and how they kind of devil may care, they did that. And I enjoyed looking up his old address because he put it up in the book. Like I said, so I looked it up and told him, I said, by the way, the old house is worth, and he appreciated research. He appreciated the fact, he told me at the end of the interview, he says, well, I can tell you read the book. And a lot of people don't read the book. And I said, Bobby, I don't read all the books. Sometimes have to skim them because I do so many interviews sometimes in a week. I don't have time to go through the book. But this one I read, from cover to cover. I really enjoyed it. I hope, please like this video, because if you like this video, it means more people will come in and watch this video. Not for me. It's really nice if people understand how important this guy was. Let me just look up. I'm just going to look up some of the tunes. For Bobby Rydell, it kind of started and that's why I said I looked up. I got reacquainted with his music because I wanted to see the songs that were hits when I was born in 1960. So for Bobby Rydell, right off the bat, Kissin' Time, a number 11 Billboard hit. We Got Love, number 6 hit. That's the same year, 59. But then his biggest hit, even though he's known for Volare, his version of Volare, his biggest hit was The Wild One. And I'll put it in the clip tonight that of how they got the sound for that. I said, man, that's a big sound for that time. Swing in School, another hit. Volare was a number 4 hit. Wild One was number 2. It was his only number 2 hit. Never had a number 1 hit, but pretty damn close. A lot of pretty big hits. Then he had his version of Sway, which is why I brought up Michael Bublé, because Michael Bublé recorded the song when I talked to him. He had nothing but good things to say about Michael Bublé. Then Good Time Baby, this was 1961. That Old Black Magic, we all know that song, a number 21 hit. Oh, The Fish, a number 25 hit. I Want to Thank You, reached number 21. He had his own version of Jingle Bell Rock, a number 21 hit. Back then, a lot of those crooner kind of teen idol guys were doing Christmas music. I Never Want to Dance Again, number 14. This was 62. And then the Cha Cha Cha, I remember that, number 10 hit. Butterfly Baby reached number 23. Wildwood Days reached number 17. Forget Him, a number 4 hit. This was 1964. Now, it started dying down there because by then, these kind of teen idols didn't have the foot in the ground because by 1964, the Beatles were in North America, right? They were big in Europe before they came here, but in 64, the Ed Sullivan Show, so that kind of changed a lot of things for a lot of people. And he said he could see the crossing, the passing of the baton almost from one to the other, right? I'll just get to some comments right now. Noelia, I am heartbroken. Love his music. Thank you. Appreciate that. Danny released us. No, he didn't do it. Surf Boy. Hello from Boston, John and all. Very sad to hear Bobby Rydell's passing. Surf Boy. Rydell, Fabian, Avalon. Yeah. Well, Fabian and Frankie Avalon were touring with him. They toured with him on a regular basis. And I think that's why I started thinking, well, I should, talk to these guys, even though they're not the ilk and they're not the lane for this channel necessarily. And thank you for everyone who's liked this video, because it just means it'll get out there more. And Surf Boy. Yeah, what a trio. You're right. Tresca. May Bobby rest in peace. He had a hell of a rock and roll lifestyle, even though he wasn't really necessarily. He was a teen idol guy from the late 50s into the 60s. But that was a lot of hits for that time, right? Because it started in 59 for him. And like I said, I'll say it one more time, that the reason I started looking him up and asking to interview him was because when I looked at Volare, it was in the top 10 of 1960 that year. And I went, oh, I know these guys. I know them. I should look them up. I'll look up Bobby Rydell. I found his site. I went, oh, he wrote a book. I'm probably going to get an interview with him. So I contacted him and he gave me a 2-hour interview, which was really, really cool, To be able to talk to someone who was huge at a time where you were a baby. They had both feet on the ground. They were successful when I was just being born. And it's sort of, yeah, he passed from pneumonia. That's right. They say it was non-COVID, so we'll take their word for it, and that's fine. He was part of the JT, yeah, squeaky clean guys, really were. But he wasn't squeaky clean. That's the thing. As far as partying, he could party. It was hard on him when, losing his wife. That was a difficult thing for him. And he was with his second wife. As far as I know, she was his second wife, if I remember correctly. She's the one that set up the interviews, if I remember. But having talked to Bobby about the Beatles was kind of a cool thing. Like I said a while ago, the fact that he was going, who would name a band the Beatles? Because it's like Bare Naked Ladies. In the beginning, when you heard Bare Naked Ladies, you thought of Bare Naked Ladies. And now you're just going, it's just Bare Naked Ladies, right? You don't think of what the name means anymore because the name means what you want it to mean concerning that performer. And so he quickly got over that. But literally, his career started waning a little bit when the Beatles started coming in. And that whole new wave, the British Invasion, 64, Ed Sullivan Show, things changed then. But he continued to perform, and then you go full circle, right? After a while, it's like I was saying last night, there's certain performers who haven't had hits for a long time, but if you've had 5 to 10 hits, you're a greatest hits act, and you can go anywhere, and you can perform forever if you want. And Bobby had multiple hits. I'll just go through them one more time because it's worth it. These are top 40. Kissin' Time. We Got Love. Wild One with number 2 hit. We've got Little Bitty Girl, Swingin' School, Ding-a-Ling, Volare, which I think is more of his signature song, even though it wasn't his biggest hit. It has stood the test of time a little bit more. Sway, that's why he talked to me about Michael Bublé, said he wanted to work with him. Good Time Baby. That Old Black Magic, which a lot of people have recorded, but he brought it to number 21. The Fish, I Want to Thank You. These are all top 40 hits. Jingle Bell Rock was number 21. I've Got Bonnie, number 18. I'll Never Dance Again, that was 14. Top 10 hit with the Cha Cha Cha. Butterfly Baby reached number 23. Hollywood Days, 17. And then he had another top four hit, Forget Him, at number 4. But by the time 65 came, he never had a hit after. He had one hit. No, you never had a hit after 64 because the music industry just changed because of the British invasion and the changing of the times, and anyway, changing of the guards, and the Beatles. And he had a chance to actually meet them, which was kind of cool. But it struck me tonight when I saw this. I'm going, oh, Bobby Rydell. Bobby gave me 2 hours of his life. And I'll always be appreciative of that for the conversation we had. And he was such a kind gentleman. And whenever I reached out to him on Facebook, he would always get back to me and always say, hey, how you doing, John? Hope you're doing okay. We're doing these shows. He'd always be really open to another interview. Those are the kind of people you want to interview. Even today, Pete Agnew of Nazareth, Pete at the end of it said, John, you know what? If you ever want to talk to me, even when we don't have an album release, he says, I like talking to you, because it was only the second time we talked. But those are the kind of interviews that you remember. Those are the type of people you remember. They don't have to love you, but if they have a respect for what you do and they enjoy the conversation, because we were all over the road with Bobby, and same as Pete Agnew. I asked him goofy questions at the end. He says, let's go for it. Let's have fun with it. And Pete doesn't suffer fools. Bobby was just an all-around, really nice guy. And I got out of the Pete Agnew interview, thinking about Bobby Rydell. It's so weird. I'm going, I don't know the last time I got along with someone this well. It was kind of cool. Maybe Steve Hackett of Genesis, because he's one of my favorite interviews. So, yeah, Bye Bye Birdie, great movie. Well, him and Ann-Margret were still friends. And the Ann-Margret clip where he talks about her, he says that, you know what, she's just one of those people that if you give her the time, if she trusts you and you're not with her for the wrong reasons, you're okay with her. So the fact that they were still friends, and that one got, next to the Beatles, got the most hits. So there you go. Sin City Jim, a little before my time, but I saw him several times in Vegas with Fabian and Frankie Avalon. There you go. They were all great, such good music. Pookie says, same age as Paul McCartney. 79, yeah. Rockers 57, forgot him. My sis had the 45 and I loved it when I was 7. Oh, look at that. There you go. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't have interviewed him if I didn't look at, I thought, how many people from the year I was born, 1960, can I track down? Now, I got sidetracked after that. I should have gotten a hold of a lot more people. And the size of our channel now, there's always a 50-50 chance we're going to get an interview with no matter who we ask, with the exception of Elton John, Paul McCartney, and a few others. But he was there. I think it was like I said, his current wife who facilitated the whole thing and made it happen, And, when I asked him for Frankie Avalon's information, he says, John, just leave it with me and I'll see what I can do. And it was him. And he says, there you go, contact this person. I'm sure he'll do it. Wink, wink. So he must have talked to him. So I'm going to wait about a month and then I'll contact him. Surf Boy. A lot of these guys were young when they made it big. They seemed older than we were because they pre-British invasion. Rydell, same age as McCartney. Randall Anderson. Ironically, I seen an episode of a TV show, Combat, where he was a guest star. He did a lot of guest stints, on TV shows. ADG 320. I live at the Jersey Shore. Wildwood Days will be sung at the shore bars during the summer long. Yeah. I almost reached out to him during COVID for an interview because he said, anytime you want to do another interview, that was fun. Let's do it again. He talked about Pookie talked about his grandmother cooking. He talked about that an awful lot. And close family, they all live together. And the quirkisms of for him to be able to be honest in his book, to talk about the quirky things about, the grandparents and the parents and the next door neighbors and being rough kids and things like that. It's I was I don't remember the last time I've been so shocked by someone dying. It's just because I think it's harder sometimes, not always, when it's someone you've spent a little time with. And for me, it was just 2 hours, but it was 2 solid hours with me and Bobby Rydell talking about a time in music that I can pretend to know about. I can research all I want, but I wasn't alive. I can try to get in that pocket as much as I want, and I can watch as much movies as I want, but unless you've been there, right? Yeah. Oh, you're saying something about Sinatra? Sinatra was a fan of Bobby Rydell. That's why Bobby told me he invited him over to the table and he couldn't believe it. He went, "Oh, wow. I'm going over and they were in Vegas. Um, it was, uh, it was humbling and exciting at the same time. Oh, did I know that he was a train collector, Sinatra? I don't know. 2 days take. Back in those beach blanket bingo days, Frankie Avalon and that, yeah, Rydell, hot stuff. That's for sure. A different time, as we're all been talking tonight. Showstopper Bob. Hi, John. We'll pay a tribute to him and play a song Volare at the show this hour. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a great, that classy stuff. Thank you. People are always asking me what's on top there. That's just cassettes and interviews. Those are all interviews that we've been so busy with new interviews. I'll get back to Bobby in a second. I don't want to disrespect him, but that we haven't been able to go back to, because I've been in radio 39 years and I've got tons of interviews, right? But we have so many new interviews that it's hard to go back to the older ones. So, like I said earlier on, um, the number of hits this guy had, and the fact that he had told me, he says he was kind of hoping to get into more movies. He enjoyed working with Ann-Margret. Uh, Let me see what we got here as far as, does it say? Ba-ba. Damn, he was a good looking guy. But tons of albums, lots of greatest hits albums. And the top tens, we haven't mentioned those. We Got Love in 1959. This is just a top tens. Wild One, was his biggest hit chart wise, reached number two. Swingin' School, number five. Volare was a number four hit, even though technically that's kind of his signature song. Didn't have another top 10 until Forget Him in 1964. And that's where things started changing because, as I mentioned a while ago, because of the British invasion and how music had really, 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 really changed at that point. And like I said, he was touring Europe. It might have been the UK specifically. I don't remember the story. I'll find the interview tonight. And he met the Beatles, right? Which was kind of a cool thing for him, but not really understanding. He said fully what that exchange was all about. Frank Sinatra, like I said, was a big part of him as a rite of passage. The fact that Frank told him that he enjoyed his music, that says something, man. And how could you not be nervous? Which he was at that table in Vegas, meeting Frank and others. I don't know who else from the Rat Pack could possibly have been there, but it's in the clip, and I haven't listened to the clip in a while. In the interview clips, I've got them right here. They're on this. If you look up John Beaudin, my name, if you look up John Beaudin, Bobby Rydell, they'll all come up. John Beaudin, Beaudin. The first one is Bobby Rydell on his Grease Rydell High movie connection. And there's a big picture of Olivia and John there. Then Bobby Rydell talks about the Beatles. Bobby Rydell understanding Justin Bieber. Then meeting the Beatles. Then he wants to work with Michael Bublé because they both recorded Sway. They both recorded a few of the same songs. And then he talked about the special sound of getting the vocal sound on his biggest hit, Wild One, it's an interesting story in itself. What else do we got? I think there's a few more. Oh, yeah, the first time he heard himself on the radio, he says that was just like a surreal experience. Because he had said, you never know. You can't explain it to someone. HSTS, hello. Hello. Doc Duran, Bobby, V, some same genre. Yeah, left us in 73. Pookie Martinez. Yeah, Kiss. Kathy Kreider. I was lucky enough to see Bobby, Frankie, and Fabian in concert together 6 years ago in Branson. He was my teenage crush many years ago. Rest in peace, Bobby. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate you coming on. One of the nicest guys I've ever interviewed in 39 years in radio. You know, it was not a face to face back then. A lot of the older crooners would, if they have their say, they don't come on camera unless they have perfect lighting and things. I mean, this isn't perfect lighting because we're still working on that here. But sometimes people don't want to get all made up and stuff, right? And I understand that. And he's got the right to do it. He's earned the right. I always tell my mother, who's 87, Mom, you've earned the right not to want to do that if you don't want to. You've lived a long life. If that doesn't make you feel good, you know what? Cancel that appointment and do whatever. You've earned the right to be able to do that. And, Bobby, through getting, getting transplants through the years, some as a result of his lifestyle and drinking, and he's very honest about it, and especially in his book. He's very, very honest about it. K9 Companion. Hugo Peabody in Bye Bye Birdie. Yeah. He loved Ann-Margret. You know what? And he said to be able to spend time with one of the most beautiful women in the world. My generation would know her from old movies we watched when we were very young, or of course, that famous Who movie where she played Roger Daltrey's, mother, of course, right? That pinball wizard. William Harris, we lost C.W. McCall. He was 93 and died from cancer. His biggest hit was Convoy. Yeah, we did a whole thing on him a few days ago because there's somebody else that I had a connection with. When American Gramophone, Chip Davis, started, some of that money came from, because he it was part of the creation of Convoy. He created American Gramophone label. Chip Davis did, because he was the drummer. And the Fresh Air series 1 to 5, especially 1 to 4, were used to test stereos like crazy. It's amazing the degrees of separation we all have with all of these people. If it's not Bobby Rydell, it's someone who played with them. It's Frankie Avalon, Doc Duran. For me, that era is like yesterday. It goes by fast, kids. It's true. And as I'm dumbing it down to a point where it's not even real. But as you get older, you know what? It seems like time, your brain processes time a lot quicker. It's times like this. I even looked at this. First I thought Bobby was making a big statement because it's this big banner on his Facebook, and I'll read it to you. I hope it's still up on here. Here it is. Maybe I can flip it over. Yeah, I can. This is from Pennsylvania Bluebell. On April 5th, 2022, Bobby Rydell, a legendary 1960-era singer, actor, and teen idol, died at the age of 79 in Jefferson Hospital from non-COVID-19 related pneumonia complications. And then they talk about all his hits and all the things that he had done. And, but yeah, someone just said British and Pookie. Yeah, the British invasion basically killed the careers. I mean, they came full circle, and all these guys, when you have that many hits, you're a greatest hits act and you have no trouble selling out any place. Like Fabian, like Frankie Avalon. I mean, there's no problems there. Please like our video, by the way. More people will see it. More people will know about Bobby. And I'd appreciate that if you could do that. But it's, we just finished releasing a Randy Bachman interview where he talks about Burton Cummings and the Beatles tonight, which whenever I think of the Beatles, I sometimes think of people I've talked to. There's so many people who are surrounded by the Beatles or knew the Beatles, who met the Beatles, who became fans, because we forget sometimes our big stars, the people that we love so much, are fans as well. I mean, how could we forget that? But we forget that they're big, big fans. And even though Bobby said to me, he says, "Well, I didn't get it the first time, but you got it now." And that's such great respect for people like, um, well, for Michael Bublé, had and he said he understood people like Justin Bieber being a teen idol. He says, "Of course I get what he's. I don't necessarily." He says, "I understand him," is what he said. I understand what he goes through. Because I told him if I was Justin Bieber, I'd be dead. If a Justin Bieber experience happened to me when I was his age, I'd be dead. So it's easy to judge. Let me go back. Daniel says, "Forget Him was great. Worked well with Fabian and Frankie Avalon. Did you meet Bobby? I interviewed him for 2 hours. He was a phoner, though. But then I contacted him several times after that, and he always gave me information." Surf Boy, I love Ann-Margret, one of the most beautiful, talented women of all time. Danny Andrews grew up watching him and Ann-Margret and Bye Bye Birdie. He also always answered autograph requests for fans. Yeah, I've got his autograph because he signed my book. Pookie Martinez. Looks like 59 to 64 guys like Rydell should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Oh, good luck for that. I'm giving up hope with that organization. Canine Companion. Even Elvis loved Ann-Margret. Yeah, he'd worked with her a bit too. HSTS, the voice actress who played Mrs. Potato Head of Toy Story, passed away. We did a thing on her on our other channel. If you look at the community page on this site, we did a thing on her. Darren says, Jeff Beck refers to the type of music that's being discussed as V-neck sweater music. Yeah, a lot of V-neck sweaters back then. Maria Day. Hi, John. Hi, Maria. Nice to have you on here. Surf Boy. British invasion killed Elvis. Chuck Berry, two of the biggest. I wouldn't say killed them, but yeah, it did. For people like Bobby Rydell, it extinguished the flame almost because everyone was hyper focused. It didn't help Elvis, but Elvis survived that. William Harris, Paul McCartney will be 80 this June. That's right. HSTS. I just smashed the like button right on. Thank you. 71. I appreciate that. Canine Companion. Rydell served in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. Rick May. Used to have a 45 record of Bobby Rydell when I was a kid. Swing in School. Yeah. Quite a group back then. Rydell, Ed Burns, Fabian, Ricky Nelson, Freddie Cannon. He told me an interesting story about Freddie Cannon, that he used to be Freddie Cannon's roommate. Hold on. I'm just putting down another story I want to tell. He told me he was in that Dick Clark's Rock and Roll Caravan, whatever, tour. And when he was doing that, he was roommate with Freddie Cannon, who has an interesting reputation. A few people have told me stories. I don't know if they're true. So he tells Freddie, make sure you wake me up because everyone except Paul Anka took the bus. And you had to get that bus, no matter what. Well, anyway, he wakes up, Freddie Cannon's gone on the bus, and he's late, and he's missed the bus. And he can't get over the fact that Freddie Cannon never woke him up. Excuse me, sorry. So he goes downstairs, and he's like lost and going, I am screwed. What am I going to do? And then there he sees Paul Anka, and he tells Paul Anka what happened, and Paul says, you can fly with me. So Paul let him fly. And that's one of the best stories he told me. And then Dominic Triano, who was with James Gang replacing Joe Walsh, partially replacing Joe Walsh, and was with the Guess Who for the last two Burton Cummings albums. Dominic Triano told his brother Frank in their new book that it was Freddie Cannon that came up to him and said, you're one of the worst, whatever, guitar players. And at the time, Dominic Triano was one of the hottest young guitar players. And no one could figure out why Freddie Cannon had said that to him because was it jealousy? I mean, no one could look at Dominic at that point and think he wasn't a great guitarist. You might, so I don't know what's going on with Freddie Cannon. These could have been out of school stories. I don't know. But there you have it. I'm going to the comments. Yes, please press the like button. I'd appreciate that. And it really gets people to watch this video. You know, when I interviewed Bruce Hornsby for the first time, I had thought, and I've told you this before, because I was like a lot of you probably who the first time I heard The Way It Is, this is connected to Bobby. I remember looking at the radio going, what is that? Dun, 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 and every Bruce Hornsby album's up there. And I'm sitting there waiting for Bruce Hornsby to come in. I'm a little nervous. I don't get nervous, as you can tell with my interviews. I don't know. I just don't get nervous. But I was nervous. And so he walks in and I tell him right away, I said, you know what? I was one of those kids, heard your, I was in radio at the time when The Way It Is came out. And I said, here we are sitting in the same chair. Not same room, rather. Same chair. We're sharing a chair. That looked funny. That's a weird one. And he says, I sometimes think that too. He says, I thought that when, I had a chance to work with Elton John, because he's such a big Elton John fan. Tumbleweed Connection is his big album. Mine was Madman, the one after that. But I think of stuff like that. And then now and then I think about Bobby Rydell and the fact that I had a chance to talk to him for 2 hours. We didn't use all 2 hours. So I usually say we just talked for an hour because we used basically an hour of the interview. The rest was just us talking about stuff that I didn't think was necessarily important for the whole interview. But when you spend 2 hours talking to someone on the phone, you remember for the rest of your life, if it's a good 2 hours, whether it's an interview with a rock and roller, a teen idol, or no matter what. So that's the first thing I thought of. I'm going, how much I enjoyed talking to this man and how much I enjoyed talking to a man who was honest about his addiction, to alcohol, having to get organ transplants because of it, probably, right? He was being really honest about it. And how someone loved talking about the stories behind Wild One or Volare and his version of Volare. Okay, let's get to some comments. We've got 85 people watching. Thank you, by the way. If you want to leave a comment, please do. You don't have to. This one touched me a little bit because, like I said, I had an interview with him, which I really loved. And he kept in contact. He kept in contact, which is cool. I'm just reading your comments here. I'm going to bring this up to, okay. Melody R, I still listen to the crooners. Oh, Melody, I asked your question to Pete Agnew today of Nazareth, by the way. Maria Day, hit the like button. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate that. Because if you hit the like button, more people will see this tribute to Bobby, which is, it warmed my heart talking to him. I remember telling my wife, she said, wow, you're really bouncing off the walls after that one. I went, I really like the guy. It's not like I dislike people I interview, but I interview people almost every day. And I got off that interview going, wow, what a nice man. Like Steve Hackett of Genesis is one of those guys. Every time I get off the phone, and even, and people sometimes, because he's so serious, but Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull, love talking to the guy. And I've interviewed him so many times. Barbara Lavoie. I enjoyed listening to Bobby Rydell from my older brother's 45s. Oh, there you go. He was very popular at that time. Thank you, Barbara, for sharing that. I appreciate it. ADG 320. Cameo Parkway catalog owner refused to reissue Rydell's music, so the entire catalog was unavailable until 2005. Yeah, he recorded some songs. Yeah, K-Tel. I just talked to the person, the daughter of the gentleman who started K-Tel today, as a matter of fact, because I wanted to talk to him, not realizing he had died quite a few years ago. Sorry about coughing. I'm hoping to get an interview with her because K-Tel was such a big part of reissuing so much music. Gregory Todaro, big part of that music era. Rest in peace. Thank you, Gregory. Appreciate that. HSTS, who really invented the duck walk? Was it Chuck Berry or Angus Young? Well, it wasn't Angus Young. Pookie Martinez, top 5 hits, 10. Top 100, 34. Thank you, Pookie. William Harris, can't believe we lost Taylor Hawkins, drummer of the Foo Fighters, the age of 50. Now, that was a real tragedy, of course. Of course it was. Oh, your first name is Henry. Thank you. Pookie says, Good mate Pete. Darren says Neil Sedaka had a song titled "Stairway to Heaven" in 1960 before before Led Zeppelin. Melody. Thank you, John. You very welcome. You're one of the few people I asked a question of because Pete Agnew, by the way, he's the last surviving member, not surviving member, last original member of Nazareth. Um, that's still in the band. Their new album is amazing, but that's a whole other topic. Chase Tower. There was a Stairway to Heaven, but a Highway to Hell. Yeah. Danny Andrews. Thanks, John, for giving artists like Bobby some well-deserved attention. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. There's a lot of great artists and music that a lot of the younger viewers don't know. That's one of the reasons when I went into the music of 1960, just being curious. I'm sure you've done that before. I'm curious, what were the hits the year I was born, 1960, because I'm 62 now. And I went, and the second I saw Volare, I went, oh yeah, Bobby Rydell. I remember Bobby Rydell. You know, relatives used to play his music all the time. I knew the Wild One, quite a few other hits. Couldn't have named them. And then, of course, I had to become familiar because I was interviewing Bobby. And that's how it got me to be on there. Yes. Thank you, Darren. Darren, you're the man. Yeah, Samantha and I were talking today, daughter of KTEL founder Philip Keeves. Kives? I don't know how to say his name. Henry says, my personal favorite Led Zeppelin song is the Immigrant Song, one of my faves. Rob F. You may have mentioned this, but I came in late. No problem. How old was Bobby when he did Volare? I don't know. How old was he? Because Volare would have been, what, 60? Yeah, 60, like I said. Someone do the math. Yeah. He was young, and he had to keep his relationship with his future wife very private, he had told me. And he mentions it in the book, because when you're a teen idol, you're single forever in women's eyes, and they'd rather leave it that way, right? And then when he lost her, it was hard on him. So he was hitting the sauce, and it gets away from you. And I know that coming from a long line of alcoholics in our family. And then he had to get organ transplants. And he says that was such a humbling experience that he knew he had to make a difference in his life, even after all the hits, to continue making a difference in his life. Because if someone gives you, as he called it, the greatest gift, while you're alive. Yeah, Surf Boy, I bought a lot of KTELs too. I'm hoping to get her on to talk to her about. She was very nice. She said, "Hey, John, congratulations on your success. Unfortunately, my father died at this time. Hope you keep well, blah, blah, blah." And I went, "Hey, man, let's do an interview." But she's at the helm now. KTEL still has a website if you look it up. William Harris, it's a shame that Tony Bennett has Alzheimer's and can't perform anymore. Yeah, I'll show you something concerning, hold on. Just speak amongst yourselves. Hold on, I think that's how you spell it. Here, my stomach's growling. There's Tony. We met Tony. I'm looking for the picture. I don't know why it's not coming up. Maybe. Oh, there we are. There we are with Tony Bennett backstage. That was my radio. I was a program director at that point, so I looked like a narc, and that's my wife Shannon in the middle. Because originally we were going to be on each side of him, and he just grabbed Shannon, not in a bad way, and he said, "Oh, let me be beside this pretty woman." So I thought, well, I'm just going to go on the other side. And in between the intermission, just an off thing here, Tony Bennett, and some of you have heard me say this before. Tony Bennett looks at us and says, Was it okay? Did I sound okay? Was the sound good? And I'm going, what the? You're Tony Bennett. Of course it was okay. We didn't say that, but yeah, he was incredibly. He was a really really nice guy. There we are. I'll bring it up a little bit. Oops, sorry, you can't because of the light. Here we are with Tony Bennett. Great show. And the other one was just a clip of the Tony Bennett show. So I'm going to wrap things up. If anyone has anything else to say they want to talk about, don't be shy. You're just writing stuff. You don't have to. Um, I always say this: it's not imperative. If you want to share some comments, Darren says Randy Bachman made an appearance in 2006 documentary As Seen on TV, the KTEL story. Randy thought it was cool being on a KTEL record with his influences. All cool. Melody says great photos. Thank you, Melody. Chuck, Buddy Holly, and my battery's getting low. I have to record my radio show for Vancouver anyway in the next few minutes. Thank you for sharing this time with me and really indulging me to talk and look back at one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done. And Bobby, wherever you are, and I believe we are in the ether someplace. I'm not a religious man, but I do believe in God, and I believe that somehow we're swinging together after this mortal coil, as they say. I think that somehow we're all together, and I'm hoping Bobby's up there just doing his thing, because he just wanted to sing. I mean, Bobby Rydell just wanted to do his thing. So my condolences to his family, the good people, and may he rest in peace. Thank you, everyone. Take good care of yourself, okay? And rest in peace, Bobby Rydell. Sad day in music.